Hi guys, this is Daksh. I am the convener for the eSummit 2022. This session is a part of that very session, and our speaker will be joining us in soon. So before he joins in, I'll just give you a context about him. So Mr. Mike Singh, he's from Guyana, over at West Indies, and he is in relations with the ESL of IIT Roorkee from the past couple of years. He's a wonderful personality. He has been taking care of the telecom sector and has worked with Bharti Airtel and firms like this in India. So he is truly a great leader and a leader who thinks about tomorrow. The only reason that he is in relations with ESL is because he wants to interact with the Indian population and young minds like you. So just waiting for him to join in. Due to some time difference, there was some issue with because for connecting. So just waiting. Thank you for your patience, guys, and hope that you like the session.
Okay, okay.
Yes, sir. Here you are. We can see you.
Thank you. Me see. Bap, bap. Oh, that's better. This is a new platform you're using, eh?
Good evening, all.
Hello.
Good evening, sir.
Namaste, namaste.
Namaste,
The
sir.
magic word, the magic word.
Oh,
To
namaste, sir.
all those bright people at IIT Roorkee.
Yes. Greetings from IIT Roorkee, ESL IIT Roorkee. Today we welcome Mr. Mike Singh. He is the CEO of Telecom Cry. He is truly a leader of tomorrow and will be sharing his thoughts for the same. Welcome, sir, and over to
Thank
you.
you. Nam- Namaste, good evening. Salam, namaste, good evening to all my friends and followers and fellow Indians living in the world's largest and the world's greatest democracy. Um, Today, I am honored indeed to be once again with the distinguished faculty, professors, alumni, and students and well-wishers of the Indian Institute of Technology, Roorkee. I've never been to Roorkee. I've never been to Hardwar or Dehradun, or not matter anywhere in Uttarakhand. But I am in a country called Guyana in South America, where many of you will be familiar with the cricket Wallas. Guyana is a part of the West Indies cricket team, and many distinguished cricketers like Alvin Kalicharan, Ramnaresh Sarwan, Shivnarang Chanderpaul are all Guyanese. And if you look at their last names, those are very Bhojpuri names. And so many people from here, 5-6 generations ago, by virtue of migration, they can trace their roots back to Uttar Pradesh, and I'm very sure some parts of Uttarakhand, because if my memory serves me correctly, both Uttarakhand and Uttar Pradesh were one and same at some point and would have separated not too long ago, as they did with the Indian state of Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh, and of course with Bihar and Jharkhand. So I am honored, I'm very excited, I'm very impressed by what I've been reading about IIT Roorkee, founded in 1847, quite a long time ago, and of so many great achievements, so many amazing things that you have happening there. What really stuck out to me is that there were some distinguished students and faculty that took part in the BRICS Youth Summit involving Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. And that really said a lot about the quality and the caliber of the persons that are there in IIT Roorkee. And I do look forward sooner than later to coming to visit you all there, hopefully when this pandemic slows up. I wish to thank Daksh, Jaglan, Rohini, and the many hardworking students who have taken time out of their extremely busy schedule to put this conference together and to make it the resounding success that I anticipate it will be. Leaders of tomorrow. Who is a leader? What defines you as a leader? I have been blessed, having been in the telecom space for over 30 years. When I first went to India in 1993 as part of AT&T, if you wanted to make a call from Delhi to Mumbai, you had to call someone elsewhere in Europe or the United States, and then for you to be connected with that person in the other city. So if I was sitting in Delhi and you wanted to speak to someone in Mumbai, you had to call a friend, a relative, a colleague in Canada, the US, or wherever, and ask them to call Delhi to connect you. India has transitioned itself, it has transformed itself into the undefeated champion of intellectual capital. From the era of the license Raj to the era of double digit not too long ago growth, from fighting the pandemic to the world's most advanced hyperscaled digital architecture, from being a country where many people would have relied solely upon sticks and twigs and what have you, coal, for power. India today is the world's leader in the area of renewable energy, especially solar energy. The next Microsoft, the next Google, the next Facebook, the next AT&T, the next Tesla will not come from the West. It will come from India. Because 2015 to 2025, I regard as the decade of realization. Due to India's youthful and burgeoning demographics of mostly young people, its democratic values, traditions, and of recent, its upholding of the rule of law in many areas, such as we've seen with the Farmers' Bill, and the fact that demand for its intellectual capital, its goods and services, is completely redefining the way the pendulum swings in the world today. The United States and Western Europe are in decline. India is just getting started. And so I wish to say to the many students at the IIT Roorkee and elsewhere who might be tuned in watching this telecast live, that when Jesus walked this earth, India was the richest nation in the world. We have always had the gyan, the knowledge, but we were never an aggressive people. So outsiders invaded us, took advantage of us. The Raj raped India of her wealth, of her riches, but they could not have raped the Indian people of their knowledge. We are an ancient civilization rooted firmly in the principles of inclusivity, tolerance, and diversity. India has been home. India has provided refuge for countless persecuted religious groups and minorities for thousands of years. Even the Dalai Lama fled there in the 50s. So, because Indians in themselves are an argumentative people, as Amartya Sen once said, you put 10 Indians in a room and you have a free flow of ideas. I am betting on India. I'm proud of India. And I know India will become the mother of all nations. And I wanted to talk of this about India because you're there in India and you must never let go of the fact that you're living in the world's best laboratory at the best time of your lives. If you can make it in India, you can conquer the world. Because there's no place greater than Bharat that you can cut your teeth, that you can sharpen your skills. And when you leave India, the Fortune 500 companies are lying at your feet. Look at Silicon Valley today. Surinder Pichai from Google, the gentleman from IBM, the other one from Adobe, Satya Nadella at Microsoft. This is just the beginning. And I'm absolutely convinced the next big thing is going to come out of IIT Roorkee. I've been reading about graphene. I think you're doing a lot of research on that. And that ties you in with nanoparticles and nanotechnology. I have spent, as I said, 30 years in the world of telecommunications and technology. In 1984, not even in my adulthood, I listened to the late Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi on the BBC giving an important speech in some remote part of India, and Mark Tully commenting. But I remember Rajiv Gandhi saying India had missed the Industrial Revolution, but India was not ever going to miss the IT revolution. And so I'm very proud and very happy to have been blessed to live to see the India that Rajiv Gandhi and my dear friend Sam Petrodaji worked together to achieve. Look where we are today, talking on Creta. I'm pretty sure all the back office work, the algorithms, the programming, what have you, for this app was all done somewhere in Noida, Bangalore, or Hyderabad. I'll be surprised if there is no Indian content in this platform. And when we talk about leadership, from my perspective, as someone who grew up in a home without a telephone or without a television, but simply had access to a vast array of books owned by my grandfather and my dad, and the National Library. I was a voracious reader, and the most important thing I learned, in order to become a true leader, one must humble himself or herself in the pursuit of knowledge. You're never too old to learn. No leader has a monopoly on knowledge. We can all learn something from one another. And as the saying goes, a mind stretched with knowledge could never return to its original dimension. Equally important in being a leader is being kind to others, being compassionate to others, being willing to listen to the common man and the common woman. You are only the leader because the people around you, below you and around you, who do all the hard work, but then you reap the glory. That's not a leader. A leader is one who seeks out the common person and lifts them up. My late father said the greatest good you can do for any human being is to lift that person out of poverty. And I reflect so many times on the teachings of Bapu, who said poverty was the greatest form of violence. And he also said, and I remember well, Gandhiji said, the world has enough for everyone's need, but not their greed. And so, as we journey through life, as we amass wealth, as we gain distinctions and we move up the ladder of social mobility, it is extremely important that we anchor ourselves in the virtues of humility, kindness, compassion, tolerance, and understanding for all those around us. I run a telecoms company, Telecom Caribe here, the Caribbean. We can be compared to Geo. Not that many people as Mukesh buys business at Geo, or we can be compared to Airtel. But we are in my homeland of Guyana and Suriname and the wider Caribbean. We are the carrier's carrier. We are the biggest players in the area of hyperconverged infrastructure. And a lot of what I'm doing has been inspired by what I saw in India, what I learned in India, and what I believe Latin America and the Caribbean can learn and do more with India. In fact, I often talk about tequila meeting masala. Masala, the Indian spice, tequila, the Mexican drink. And so, being in Latin America and the Caribbean, I see huge opportunities for cross-border collaboration and cooperation in several areas, mainly technology, ICT, infrastructure, agri, renewable energy, the whole gamut of areas that India is now the undisputed world leader. Latin America can become a very fertile and promising market. In the Caribbean and Guyana, we share strong historic linkages with Mother India by virtue of migration during the 1838 to 1917. In my case, my ancestors were sent out of Gwalior in Madhya Pradesh in 1858 as political prisoners of the Raj for taking part in the Rani of Jhansi in the First Indian War of Independence, which has been called the Meerut Mutiny, the Sepoy Mutiny. But my ancestors were there fighting for India's freedom and India's liberation. And so, as a descendant of the proud Rajputs that were brought to British Guyana in 1858, no one in this part of the world is prouder of India's rise, of India's economic progress, of its technological advances than I am. My ancestors were brought here in chains because they saw the need for azadi. Fast forward to the 1940s, my grandfather journeyed to India and joined the ranks with Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. So throughout my family, from one generation to the other, we've always put Mother India first. Whilst I may not pick up a banduk, or I'm not a member of the Royal Rajputana Rifles, I'm committed to seeing India develop through collaboration, through cooperation, and through shared learning and joint ventures in the area of ICT, technology, and renewable energy, etc. Because the 21st century is a race between India and China. India will win, have no doubt. And so we here in Latin America and the Caribbean look forward greatly to closer ties, closer collaboration with India in many spheres, in many areas of bilateral and multilateral cooperation. For instance, in Guyana, we have an Indian president, Irfan Ali. In Suriname, we have an Indian president, Dr. Chandrika Santoki. And in Trinidad and Tobago, we had at least two Indian prime ministers, the last being Kamala Prasad Bisesa. So politically, Indians are very powerful in this part of the world. In terms of business and enterprise and education, they've also done very well. In my case, my Mamu is Sashrinath Ramphal, the former Foreign Minister and Attorney General of India, of Guyana, and also former Secretary General of the Commonwealth. Srimati Indira Gandhi visited Guyana in 1968. The late Dr. Shankar Dayal Sharma, Vice President of India, visited Guyana in 1988. And in 2008, the Singham, that's his last name is Singham, Vice President of India, visited Trinidad and Tobago, and in 2009, Dr. Manmohan Singh visited Trinidad and Tobago for the Commonwealth Heads of Government Summit. So Guyana is no stranger. Many Guyanese and West Indians have been honored at Pravasi Divas, which we celebrated just a few years ago. And so what I like to say to the students of IIT Roorkee, to the faculty and to others, please look beyond the borders of India. Look beyond the United States. Look at Latin America and the Caribbean, Mexico, Guatemala, El Salvador, Honduras, Belize, Costa Rica, Panama, Venezuela, Guyana, Suriname, Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, Chile, Paraguay, Uruguay, Argentina, and Brazil, and of course the Caribbean islands. If you put these 30 plus countries together, including Canada, India has at least 24 solid votes or more to get her into the United Nations as a permanent member of the United Nations Security Council. At least 24 to 28, we know, of votes from these countries that will vote and in the UN General Assembly for India to become a permanent member of the United Nations Security Council. The world has changed. We need a whole new political architecture that recognizes the reality of the new global dispensation. The people, India needs to be recognized by by the global community for its commitment to democracy, human rights, the rule of law. And why have China and Britain, which are in decline, on the UN Security Council? China is a big market, a big country, but why have France and the UK in the Security Council, but you do not have India or Brazil? India alone represents a quarter of the world's population. This United Nations Security Council of today, it's a vestige of colonialism. And therefore, there must be urgent and necessary reform of the United Nations to reflect the real global architecture of today. To ignore India's relevance and importance in geopolitics is to ignore one's own relevance in the area of global strategic affairs, trade, science, technology. Because the India of today is just getting started. And I will say within the next 20 years, India is poised to overtake China. India is a laboratory. It is a mecca for new ideas, new discussions, new visions, and I'm eternally optimistic that India, aided and abetted by the IITs and IIMs, will produce the quality and caliber of young leaders of tomorrow to take India proudly and progressively into the 21st century for the good of all mankind. I'm bullish on India. I have faith in India. I have faith in all the young people I've met. And so I will say, India is on the rise, and the rest of the world will be looking to learn soon from India, because many things that have been done in India, it's those very things the West will now want a license to bring to, from the East to the West. So in closing, I wish to say that to the leaders of tomorrow, remain true to thyself, remain true to your ideals, remain true to the philosophy of goodwill, kindness, tolerance, inclusivity, and above all, humility. For that is what will propel you to your next level of human progress. But be forever mindful that we are only custodians of the things we have today, and never be too proud of anything, because the Lord can take it from you in a flash. And in closing, I'd like to say thank you to everyone who has worked so hard to make this great success. Vande Mataram, and I'm here to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Such a nice session. So, anyone have question? Please put in the chat box.
I have a lot of time left.
Guys, please feel free to ask the question.
They should not be shy. Did I use up all my time?
So I guess I was posted the question in the chat box.
Yes, let them post it. How much time do I have left?
So one person has asked the question: do you
Sure.
think that the current tech companies and thereby have such a dominance that it's hard for new leaders to come up?
No. Companies are only as good as the people that make them. And as I have said, why focus on Silicon Valley? Silicon Valley is facing a tech crunch, a talent crunch. India no longer has a talent shortage. India no longer has a brain drain. India has now a net brain gain, as we know. And I think even if you want to do something and you think it's already being done, that's good. You should try to do it better. Make the process better, product better, end user experience better. Even in the face of the greatest adversity, you must not give up, because failure is not an option.
So there's one more question in the chat box. In terms of innovation, we see innovative startups coming from India, but the capital flow is still very low, still lower than US. So don't you think that the developed companies, via their capital, will continue owning a large percent of the Indian startups and thereby the innovation?
I believe that is a very good question. It needs to be attacked frontally in two areas. When Indians go to the West and they sell their intellectual capital, they don't get much, because the VCs of Silicon Valley, they're the biggest reapers. And so the Indians have to understand the real value of their GAN. Don't sell it for little or nothing. In fact, Indian investors, Indian NRIs, PIOs, even us here in Latin America, must subscribe to venture capital funds in India for onboarding of young entrepreneurs and startups. Otherwise, India's best and brightest will continue to go to Silicon Valley and make the Firanga and Firangi and the Anglesi richer. It's time the money came back to India. We have been giving too much. We were assaulted, raped, violated, exploited by the British, going back to the days of Clive. Now they're taking our knowledge, nahi. We must keep that knowledge in India and Indian companies. India has no shortage of funds today.
Yes.
You have a lot of cash today. Indians can raise money. You've got big banks, ICCI, Kotak, Mahindra. You have Reliance has a venture fund, right? All these companies are there. And so tap into the local capital markets. We must support Indian developers. We must support Indian content. We must support young Indian entrepreneurs. I am perpetually tired of reading that so many companies in Silicon Valley and glacis are getting rich, but poor Indians in Bangalore are doing all this hard work. What they get? Pittance? No, time for that is over. The world is now different. So we must invest in Indian startups and Indian companies so India can reap the benefit. Why? Only Anglesis should drive BMWs? What happened to Indians? They don't need to be in Bajaj scooter all their life. I reject that. I believe if we could develop the intellectual capital, we should be able to raise the capital. We should be able to innovate in marketing and branding, which you're already doing this for Western companies. Yeah. Do it for ourselves. Why we give it to them and they make billions and they gave us crumbs? No, I do not support that. I'm bullish on India. And I would like all of you Indians to be confident in yourself. If not, you will lose everything to these Faranga and Anglesi. Forgive my choice of words. But I want all of you in India to rise. I want every Indian to have the same opportunities that the people in the West have. If you look at the level of competence in the West versus India, this is real janjat. Trying to communicate here with people in the West, it's a maha janjat. Everybody in the West hides behind a PowerPoint. In India, people don't need to hide behind a PowerPoint. They're thinking on their feet. They will tell you to your face, if this is so, this is so. Look at you youngsters. I'm so impressed. You put this whole summit together. And I learned today of a new platform, Crater. When I hear of Crater, I'm thinking of a volcano. Any other questions? And I want Indians to think, if you can send Satya Nadella to Microsoft and Pichai Bhai to Google, they're making those people wealthy. Let's make the next Google in India. We talk about Jadu, we talk about creativity. No, we must create in India. We talk about make in India.
Yes, sir.
But we need to start having confidence in ourselves that we could do it. No, I'm tired of all this Indian knowledge going to San Francisco for whose benefit? Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos. Why? We need to support more bansals like Flipkart.
Yes, sir.
We need to support more young people like Dash Jaglan, like Rohini. I want to come to IIT Roorkee and light
Sure,
the
sir.
fire.
Sure, sir.
And I want to light the fire on all of you so you can get out of your comfort zone. I challenge IIT Roorkee to join me in creating the next big thing, bigger than Microsoft, superior to Tesla, and the envy of Amazon. The faculty is listening, they're watching. Let them call me. I'll be on the next flight to Roorkee.
Sure, sir. We welcome you, sir.
Thank you. Dhanyavad. Shoot more questions.
Yes, sir. Sir, the one person asked, like, what are your views on the tech startups of India?
My views? Well, I was involved with my dearby Chris Krishnan from Infosys with Startup Village India. I think India has the best talent. No doubt. I'm saying here today, you all in India are just getting started. India's only on the one cylinder. She's only on one cylinder. Imagine when she gets on 12 cylinders.
Yes.
You cannot catch up. You have three things: democracy, demography, and demand. And so much human capital. Almost 1.5 billion people by 2025. The largest English-speaking market in the world. And so much creativity. You've got creativity there from Shreya Ghoshal to Satya Nadella, from Lata Mangeshkar to A.R. Rahman, from Abdul Kalam to, I don't know, in South, Nandan Nilikani, who worked on Adar. If I said to you, next Prime Minister of UK will be an Indian, don't be surprised. You know, the next Prime Minister of India of UK will be an Indian. You know, Ricky, the son-in-law of Narayan Murthy, is poised to be the next Prime Minister of UK. You see, the Anglesi robbed us, but we are going to conquer them now because the West has become not only a morally bankrupt place, but it's in decline. Pendulum has swung from west to east, and I want to be on the wave. And the wave lies with IIT and IIM. You're doing work with graphene. I was so impressed. So much knowledge, so much gyan. What I think my Indian brothers and sisters need to work on is your confidence. Sometimes you don't think you're confident enough. I want all of you in IIT Roorkee to approach the future with the same mindset of Kapil Dev and Sunil Gavaskar as in the movie 83. Who would have believed in 1983 you all would have whipped us in the West Indies? You used to look up to the Viv Richards, Kalicharan, Rohan Kanai, you know, Colin Croft, Malcolm Marshall. I went to school with some of the Guyanese cricketers, but I'm not a cricket wala. And if India could have beaten the West Indies, the undisputed champions, India could conquer the world. I am confident. And I keep saying to Rohini and others, I will come to Roorkee. If you all suffer from a deficit of confidence, Mike Singh is going to come and help you in this department.
Sure, sir.
But don't give me a bat to play cricket. I beg of you. It'll be embarrassing.
Any other questions?
I'm surprised, no more questions. How many people have we got on the program?
What, sir?
How many persons are participating on the program?
So I guess I haven't the right to see that.
About 300?
No idea, sir. Maybe more than that, sir.
Well, I'm getting maximum exposure. I might as well take advantage of it.
So one person asked the question, how to
Sure.
find the idea for the startup. We would like to hear from you about your personal experience too. Also, the person asked this.
Okay. Um, I was born in a home without a telephone and without a television. So I was part of the whole social and analog underclass. Forget digital, forget WhatsApp, forget YouTube. When I met the girl I fell in love with and later on married, I had to write her snail mail, letters, old style writing. But it kept my mind going because it's all prose. You know, when you're trying to win the heart of a larki, you've got to have good words and good ideas because women are emotional. So, being well read, I always wrote. But then I realized, look, I'm growing up in this place without a telephone, without a TV. You know, it wasn't easy. But when I came to America after my education in UK and Canada, I ended up going to work for AT&T. And I said to myself, what the heck? I grew up in a home without a phone, and I'm now working for the world's most important, the biggest, the most respected telecommunications brand. It was like going from one extreme to the other. You're going from a guy who never had a phone to running global strategy in a company that had invented the telephone. Alexander Graham Bell was a co-founder of AT&T. So I will say you've got to let your own personal experience and your own journey through life guide you to seeing the opportunities, understanding, there are problems. And if there are people are facing problems, problems need a solution. And with a solution, you'll be able to provide a service. And when you provide a service at a reasonable cost, competitively priced, you provide this service or solution or goods at, as I said, a good price point, and you provide it professionally, the end user experience is flawless, you're able to build a brand, and then you're able to gain the trust of the customers and market share. Revenue will come, but you must focus importantly on the end user experience, because once you have one customer and they go on social media and they praise you and they like you and they share with friends, marketing, everyone today is a marketer. If you're using WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all of these platforms, you are a marketer in some way, shape, or form. Because whatever you say about a situation, whatever you say about a person, whatever you say about a product or service, when you make that post, it reaches a large audience and you impact their minds, their purchasing decision, reviews, all of these things add up. And the whole realm of big data analytics comes into this. So have ideas, try them. Don't sit on them. Anil Dhirubhai Ambani used to say that ideas are no one's monopoly. And you must think fast and act now. Look what they have created. 25% of the Sensex is controlled by RIL. So if you have young people, any of you there in IIT Roorkee that have a startup, wants to do something, I'll come to Roorkee. We could do some sessions via video conference. Let me ask, do you have a startup program, incubator at IIT Roorkee?
Yes, sir. We have an incubator named Stites.
Uh, yes. Do you
Yes, sir.
have any foreigners come in to serve as mentors? to work with the people?
Yes, sir. They have types of the program for the startups and the like incubation programs where they have such sessions and meetings with the youngsters who want to start in the particular field like biology, the biotechnology, and such.
Biotech is important
Yes,
and no tech,
and we
but
easily.
I would
Yes,
be happy to come there to
yes,
spend 2 3 weeks with the incubators, the guests of IIT Roorkee, and I'd be happy to give some lectures in the youth management and in the social sciences. I'm not going to venture into mathematics there and quantum physics to embarrass myself, but anything to do with humanities, economics, politics, sociology, and on the management side, I am very delighted with the faculty's support and blessing to come to Roorkee, meet all of you in person.
sure, sir.
Any other question there? I think it's better when you're on the ground, you meet people,
Yes, sir.
face-to-face interaction. We can have a chai pachacha.
Yes, sir. Sure, sir. So I guess there is no more question.
Did I
So
use up all my time?
yes, I guess, sir.
How much
There,
time you allocated me? 55 minutes?
I guess, sir, 16 minutes.
I used 60 minutes already?
50. Yes, sir. There is no. The session is from 5 o'clock, so it is 6 now.
Wow. Well, I want to say thank you to all of you.
Thank you.
I look forward to speaking with the uh, Dean of the Great Indian Institute of Technology, Roorkee, and to formalize my visit to Roorkee to meet with all of you. If you can fill the entire main lecture hall, I don't know how many people can fit there, but I'd be delighted to come and give a distinguished lecture on India beyond the 21st century. So do keep that in mind.
Okay, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
And no other questions?
I guess, sir, there's no question. So,
With so many persons and they're this shy, a land of a billion smiling faces, the argumentative Indian is narrated by Dr. Amartya Sen, and only a few questions.
so maybe
I
they
think,
all are clear from your session only. All their doubts.
okay, good. And please send me the video recording so
Okay,
I
sir.
can share it with colleagues.
Okay, sir.
Okay, thank you
Okay.
all. Namaste,
Thank you, sir.
Dhanyavad.
Namaste, sir.
Vande Mataram.
Vande Mataram,
Long
sir.
live my Bharat. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye. Guys, do share the insights and the knowledge that you have gained from this session. You can do this by tagging us and the Mr. Mike Singh on the social platforms like Instagram and LinkedIn. You can share your knowledge, what you gained from this session, and do not forget to use the hashtag Feet of Fortitude, which we mentioned in the chat box only. And the best submission will get the reward from our side. So hope you all enjoyed this. Uh, See you in another session.